Okay, hello. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Eugene Fernandez. I'm the director of a 501c3 public charity foundation, and it's called South Texas Center of Historical and Genealogical Research. The short name for that is History Central. And I'm making this particular video on the subject of what the land that you're standing on here, if you are seeing this video by the QR code. It is the La Esperanza Plantation, or was the La Esperanza Plantation. It's been incorporated into a city park now. It's called La Posada Park. And there's another part of it, and then if you had passed by a particular monument sign coming to this bridge, you would have seen the Montezuma Cypress Preserve. So you've got two entities in there with one beautiful story behind them. Let's start with the founder of this plantation back a little after the Civil War. Well, let's go to the time of the Civil War. That's when that French immigrant from the Lower Pyrenees came to this part of the country. And of course, a lot of people were drawn by the profit-making motive of the Civil War. This was a bustling area at that time. This particular gentleman was Celestine Jagu. Okay, and there was the original group that had this 640 acres. It's a parcel of land which is a square mile. That were steamboat captains that originally started it. And they started at about 68, thereabouts. And steamboat captains didn't know anything at all about agriculture, so they went belly up. Celestine Jagu bought this entire parcel from them in about the 1872 period, and he made an absolute marvel out of this land. It was a Garden of Eden. For what he did on the agricultural scale, earned him the title the father of South Texas agriculture. Because, mind you, this land was uncleared and unknown as to what it could produce. You look at the soil and you say, well, what kind of trees grow here? Is it alkaline? Is it acidic? And well, Celestine Jagu was the one that did all experimentation. And what did he have here? Well, he was the original person that brought citrus into the area, Persian limes. And then it goes on from there. He had like 11,000 banana trees here. They had cork trees. They had wine grapes, silkworms. You see the extent of his agricultural bearing on this, and he really developed quite a plantation here. Now, on the bridge that you're standing on, if you're reviewing the video from that QR code, that bridge was built by him in 1898. You can see the keystone that's on the bridge that states that. And then if you were coming into this area, you would have seen two pyramidal type of structures. Well, they're not pyramids. They're kilns, brick kilns, because he built those so he could mine the clay from the resaca bottom. This is Resaca de la Palma. And then he fashioned, through those kilns and the baking process, he fashioned 90,000 bricks in order to build this bridge. Why did he build the bridge? Well, it was a benevolent act by him, because if you look to the east, you're going to see that's actually lower Southmost. Every year at the time of your snowfall, the melt and all of that, the lower Southmost flooded to the, and they had agrarian economy, so they had all kinds of farmers in there that had to get out. He built a bridge so they can get out and go into Brownsville until the water receded. They could return back to their particular farms and plant for the spring planting. So Celestine Jagu did that. And another structure that you may not have been able to discern on the north side of those kilns, surrounded by a hurricane fence and a lot of weeds in there. Well, that was the old plantation house. And it unfortunately burned down in the year 2010. But this was his region here. He was quite a entrepreneur and a merchandiser too, because the newspapers at the turn of the century and a little prior to that listed him quite frequently as giving bushel baskets of some particular type of a fruit or a vegetable to the Chamber of Commerce. So he got a lot of good coverage on that. Celestine Jagu, as I say, was a legend in his own era there, and his family carried on, but they didn't carry on with the farming aspect. The land was sold off to various holders and developers. The parcel that is in the open field as you came across in order to get here, that is owned by the city of Brownsville. It's been developed into a park, and it's the La Posada Park. But now another portion of this is the Resaca Bottom that is 1/2 mile long. The bridge that you're standing on is the halfway point. 1/4 mile of length this way, 1/4 mile of length that way. And you notice those big, beautiful cypress trees. Well, those are Taxodium mucronatum, which is Montezuma cypress. If any of you are familiar with the San Antonio River Walk, and you can see those big cypress trees there, well, that's Taxodium disticum, which is your bald cypress. You see, it's two different cousins. The origin of the species here for the Montezuma cypress comes from down way far south into the interior Mexico, into Michoacan, Oaxaca, and all that. And the rivers flow up, and they have a confluence with the Rio Grande, and so that hence you have the trees here. There are 41 giant trees in this particular preserve, and those were planted by the hand of God. We did a core sampling on a trunk that had fallen, and we counted something like 175 rings, which is 175 years. The larger ones that you see here, those are easily into the 300-year range. So they were here before we had our republic. Thankfully, they have survived. And we're making every effort in order to get them to maintain their life here. If you see a dry resaca bed, well, that is an interim situation because there is a plan with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and the Public Utilities Board here and the City of Brownsville in order to do a dry dredging because it's a lot of your sediment has filtered in, and if you put full water in it, you've only got 2 feet of water depth at mid-Resaca. So we're going to bring it down to about 4 feet and really make it a viable ecosystem here. And of course, you can support with your kayaking and water sports of that nature, non-motorized water sports. So I really appreciate your attention on this. And if there are any questions further, you can find me on social media in my Facebook page, which is Eugene Fernandez. And I have plenty of your videos on this particular project as well as other historical projects in the Brownsville and Lower Rio Grande Valley area here. So don't hesitate. Reach out to me. Like I say, I've only told you a portion of the story. It's so intense and so interesting. I would be more than happy to answer any questions. So thank you so very much for your attention, and please reach out to me.